Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sandra's Stenography and Shorthand Dictation. I am so glad to see you here. If you need dictation, you're at the right place. If you know someone else that may need the dictation, please let them know. Thank you so much for all of your subscribing, your liking the videos, your comments, sharing, if you're sharing, and all of that good stuff that you're doing right now to support this channel. You rock. I may not have a lot of subscribers on my channel, but the ones that I do have are loyal to the end. And I thank you so much for that. Truly, from the bottom of my little heart, I thank you so much. You guys are truly the best 388 subscribers on YouTube. Simply put, I have some dictation for you today. It is going to be off the clock. And the reason it's going to be off the clock is because I want to do some endurance for you. I don't want you to get out there and then all of a sudden you have an hour of people talking and all of a sudden your arms are just worn out. We can't have that happening. So I'm going to be doing some dictation. It's going to be Q&A, and I think it's on a great, interesting subject on Russians and our elections. So I'm sure that every one of you U.S. Americans, and maybe abroad as well, because I do have people watching me from abroad, that in our 2016 elections, there was some Russian meddling. Yes, there was, and it has become quite a heated topic here in the U.S., which most of you probably are aware of. Give me one moment here. Russians in our elections. Dictation. Q and A. Just wanted to put that over there. And because it has been such a hot topic, and I'm trying to bring you more current events, I thought that I would try to find something that would relate to the topic, and I have. I was successful. This is what we're going to be doing today or writing today at no particular speed. And really, I would like for you to focus on your accuracy because we're not focusing on speed in this video. And I also want you to pay attention, if you can, to where you should be putting your punctuation, your semicolons, your dashes. Listen for it. Because if you're not actively listening for it, you can miss it. And trust me, you don't want to have to go through a whole hour or 2 hours of transcribing and you're missing those punctuation marks, because it's just going to make transcribing so much harder. So what I found for you today, and I've only read part of this because it's 312 pages. So of course I haven't sat down and read the whole 312 pages, but it is an interview on Glenn Simpson, Fusion GPS. And from what I can gather, he has this business called Fusion GPS, and as we get into it and unravel it all, you'll start to put the dots together as I had to. So in this dictation, which I already have pulled up, and I'm just going to blow up because I'm half blind, we have several appearances. Now, this is in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and of course they're probing into the whole Russian matter. And let me see here. I'm going to just read off to you the people that you will be hearing speak. And so you can get a gist of who is who here. So let's start there. So to give you a little background first, this is the Senate Judiciary Committee, the U.S. Senate in Washington, D.C. This is an interview of Glenn Simpson on Tuesday, August 27, 2017, which wasn't too long ago. I'm surprised this has even been available to the public, but it is. And there is a court reporter here that has taken down the proceedings, which I will get to in a few seconds here. Let me see if they throw in this name so we can thank her or him. Let's see, is there? No, I think they just mentioned the court reporter. Is there? This is on the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee. Was looking for the name of the court reporter here. So anyway, I'm sure we'll come across that in the dictation, and I'd like to thank them, whoever it was. And this is a Senate interview with Glenn Simpson on the Steele dossier about the Russian attempt to blackmail, collude with President Trump and his campaign in 2016. It's 312 pages, as I mentioned before. The GOP senators, Grassley and Graham, did not want this released, but Intelligence Committee Chair Senator Dianne Feinstein released it on January 9th, 2018. Christopher Steele was the second person to report attempted blackmail to the FBI. The first person was someone in the Trump campaign. Yes, yes, yes. Talk about juicy. So, back to the names that's going to be in this dictation. I don't know if they're going to come up right away, but here are the appearances of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Patrick Davis. He is the Deputy Chief Investigative Counsel. Chairman Grassley. Jason Foster, Chief Investigative Counsel. Chairman Grassley again, and then we have Samantha Brennan, Investigative Counsel. Let's see. Danielle Parker, Investigative Assistant. Senator Graham. And under Senator Graham's name is Heather Sawyer, Sawyer, Chief Oversight Counsel. We have Senator Feinstein. We have Jennifer Duck, Staff Director. Senator, under Senator Feinstein's name is also Molly Claflin, Claflin, Counsel. And another one of Senator Feinstein's people would be Laura Quint, Quint, Chief Counsel as well. And then we have Senator Whitehouse. We also have for the witness Joshua Levi. And it says next to his name, Cunningham Levi Muse. We have Robert Muse. And next to his name is Cunningham Levi Muse. And then we have Rachel Clattenburg, Cunningham Levi Muse as well. And do we have anybody else here? We have anybody else I haven't mentioned? We have exhibits also in this dictation. Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2, Exhibit 3, 4, 5, and 6. They will come up later. And I would like to go ahead and get started. Ready? I'm just going to use the stopwatch kind of to keep my pace, not necessarily to time you. and to see how long I've been dictating to you. And we'll start out. Let's start out. I don't want to give you an hour because that would just might just kill you. Starting out with this endurance. So why don't we start out here with about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. All right? Ready? We'll build up from there on upcoming videos. I'd like to go ahead and get started. When you? Ready? Oh, and I thought it was quite interesting that some people didn't want this published. But thank God we've got people who do want to see this published, because the American people have a right to know. Do you agree? Go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Ready? We're starting out with Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, good morning. This is the transcribed interview of Glenn Simpson. Chairman Greasley and Ranking Member Feinstein requested this interview as part of the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation of Fusion's GPS's activities related to the dossier compiled by Christopher Steele, the Prevezon case, and the Magnitsky Act. Would the witness please state your name for the record? Mr. Simpson. Glenn Simpson. Davis. On behalf of the chairman, I want to thank Mr. Simpson for appearing here today. My name is Patrick Davis. I'm the Deputy Chief Investigative Counsel with the committee's majority staff. I'll ask everyone else from the committee who is here to introduce themselves as well. Mr. Foster, Jason Foster. I'm the Chief Investigative Counsel for Chairman Grassley. Mr. Brennan, Miss Brennan, Samantha Brennan, Investigative Counsel, Chairman Grassley. Mr. Grabber, Scott Grabber, Senator Graham. Mr. Parker, Danielle Parker, Investigative Assistant for Senator Grassley. Mr. Brown, Joshua Flynn Brown, Investigative Counsel for Senator Grassley. Miss Duck, Jennifer Duck, Staff Director for Senator Feinstein. Miss Quint, Laura Quint, Chief Counsel, Senator Whitehouse. Miss Sawyer, Heather Sawyer, Chief Oversight Counsel, Senator Feinstein. Miss Chafflin, Molly Chafflin, Counsel, Senator Feinstein. Mr. Davis, the federal rules of civil procedure do not apply to any of the committee's investigative activities, including transcribed interviews. There are some guidelines we follow, and I'll go over those now. Our questioning will proceed in rounds. The majority staff will ask questions first for 1 hour. Then the minority staff will have an opportunity to ask questions for an equal amount of time. We will go back and forth until there are no more questions and the interview is over. We typically take a short break at the end of each hour. But should you need a break at any other time, please just let us know. And we can discuss taking a break for lunch whenever you're ready to do so. We have an official reporter taking down everything we say to make a written record. So we ask that you give verbal responses to all questions. Do you understand? Mr. Simpson, yes. Mr. Davis, so that the court reporter can take down a clear record. We'll do our best to limit the number of people directing questions at you during any given hour to those whose turn it is. It's also important that we don't talk over one another or interrupt each other to the extent we can help it. That goes for everybody present at today's interview. We encourage witnesses who appear before the committee to freely consult with counsel if they should choose. You are appearing here today with counsel. Counsel, could you please state your name for the record? Mr. Levi, Josh Levi, Mr. Muse. I'm Bob Muse, and I represent Glenn Simpson. Miss Clattenburg, I'm Rachel Clattenburg. Mr. Davis, we want you to answer our questions in the most complete and truthful as possible. So we will take our time. If you have any questions or if you don't understand any of our questions, please let us know. If you honestly don't know the answer to a question or don't remember, it's best not to guess. Just give us your best recollection. It's okay to tell us if you learned information from somewhere else, if you indicate how you came to know the information. If there are things that you don't know or can't remember, we ask that you inform us to the best of your knowledge who might be able to provide a more complete answer to the question. This interview is unclassified. So if any question calls for information that you know to be classified, please state that for the record, as well as the reason for the classification. Then, once you've clarified that to the extent possible, please Respond with as much unclassified information as you can. If we need to have a classified session later, that can be arranged. It is this committee's practice to honor valid common law privilege claims as an accommodation to a witness or party when those claims are made in good faith and accompanied by sufficient explanation so that the committee can evaluate the claim. When deciding whether to honor a privilege, the committee weighs its need for the information against any legitimate basis for withholding it. The committee typically does not honor contractual confidentiality agreements. The committee and Mr. Simpson have agreed that this interview is occurring without prejudice to any future discussions with the committee, and we reserve the right to request Mr. Simpson's participation in future interviews or to compel his testimony. The committee and Mr. Simpson have also agreed that participation in this interview does not constitute a waiver of his ability to assert any privileges in response to future appearances before this committee. Mr. Simpson, you should understand that although the interview is not under oath, by law, you are required to answer questions from Congress truthfully. Do you understand that, Mr. Simpson? Yes. Mr. Davis, specifically 18 U.S.C. Section 1001 makes it a crime to make any materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or representation in the course of a congressional investigation. That statute applies to your statements in this interview. Do you understand that, Mr. Simpson? Yes, I do. Mr. Davis, witnesses who knowingly provide false statements could be subject to criminal prosecution and imprisonment for up to 5 years. Do you understand this, Mr. Simpson? Yes, I do. Mr. Davis, is there any reason you're unable to provide truthful answers to today's questions? Mr. Simpson, no. Mr. Davis, finally, we ask that you not speak about what we discuss in this interview with anyone else outside of who's here in the room today in order to preserve the integrity of our investigation. We also ask that you not remove any exhibits or other committee documents from the interview. Once again, the chairman and ranking member withdrew their subpoena of you due to your willingness to provide information in this voluntary interview and document production. However, the extent to the committee deems further compulsory process necessary will likely depend on your level of cooperation and candor. Is there anything else that my colleagues from the minority would like to add? Ms. Sawyer, thank you. We appreciate it. And we appreciate you being here as part of the investigation into the Russian interference into the 2016 election. I did want to, with agreement of my colleagues, just enter into the record the letter agreement regarding the interview that was sent to your council on August 3rd, 2017. I think my colleague has gone over a number of the parameters that we agreed to, but I think it would be helpful to have this in the record. So we'll go ahead and mark it as interview exhibit number 1, just for identification purposes. Interview exhibit 1 was marked for identification. Miss Sawyer, with that, again, thank you for being here. Mr. Davis, the time is now 9:40, and we will get started with the first hour of questions. Examination, all caps, by Mr. Davis. Question, Mr. Simpson, what is your professional background? Answer, I have a degree in journalism from George Washington University, and I've spent most of my working adult life as a journalist, much of it as an investigative reporter for the Wall Street Journal. Prior to that, I worked as an investigative reporter at Roll Call newspaper, writing about political corruption, financial crime, terrorism, tax evasion, stock fraud, financial scandals, congressional investigations, government prosecutions, money laundering, organized crime. Question, and when did you leave the Wall Street Journal? Answer, in 2009. Question, and did you find SNS Global after leaving the Wall Street Journal? Answer, that's right. Question, and how many employees and associates did SNS Global have? Answer, there were 2 partners, and in the first part of the time, I think we had 1 employee. No, I'm sorry. We had 2 employees. Question, and who were they? Answer, we had a research assistant named Margaret Williams, Margot Williams, and another administrative assistant whose name I don't recall right now. Question. And who was the other partner? Answer. Susan. Susan Smith was my other partner, former colleague from the Wall Street Journal. And prior to that was an investigative reporter at the Washington Post. Question. And what was the nature of SNS Global's business? Answer. Research, business intelligence. Question. And what types of clients did SNS Global have? Answer. It's a while ago, so it's not fresh in my mind. Other consulting firms, lawyers, I don't specifically remember a lot of them. Question. And is SNS Global still in business? Answer. No. Question. When did it cease operations? Answer. I believe at the end of 2010. Question. And why did SNS Global cease operations? Answer. Basically, my partner and I had different ambitions for what we wanted to do. I wanted to have a brick and mortar office with more resources and staff. Basically, I concluded that the work that we were doing required more infrastructure and resources. Basically, in modern research, you need to have access to a lot of different databases, and there's a lot of aspects of the work that are administrative in nature that require things that I wasn't able to do. I prefer to spend my time doing the research. So I wanted to have more of an infrastructure where I could focus on that. Question. What is Bean LLC? Answer. That's the LLC that is my current company. Question. And what is your role in Bean LLC? Answer. I'm the majority owner. I guess, you know, we don't have official titles, but I'm generally referred to as the CEO. Question. Bean LLC registered Fusion GPS as a trade name in the District of Columbia. Is that correct? Answer. Yes. It's a DBA. Question. Why did you choose to use a trade name for Bean LLC rather than directly name the company Fusion GPS? Answer. Because at the time that I was deciding what I wanted to do, I was recruiting a new partner, and I just needed to set up a holding company while I organized my new business. So I just picked the name. You know, a bean is a seed, a new thing. So I picked that name to begin the process of organizing a new business and didn't want to select an actual DBA, you know, a brand name until I consulted with my new partner. We wanted to mutually I actually had two partners in the beginning. So there were three of us. And I wanted to make it a group decision. Question: is Bean LLC currently registered in DC to conduct business under the trade name Fusion GPS? Answer: to my knowledge, it is. It should be. Question: have any other LLCs or business entities conducted business as Fusion GPS? Answer: I don't think so. Question: have any other LLCs or business entities received payments for work conducted by Fusion GPS, its employees, or its associates? Mr. Levi, are you asking to include subcontractors, or are you Mr. Davis? Sure. Mr. Levi, does Fusion GPS have subcontractors? Mr. Davis, right. I think that would be part of it, but the other part is, are there other LLCs associated with Bean Direct, with Bean or Fusion directly, not just subcontractors? By the witness. Answer: yes. I mean, the one I think that has come up in some of the correspondence or somewhere, I can't remember where, is another one called Colonel, KERNEL. And that was an LLC that was set up for a book project that we never finished. We never did the book. So it's inactive with the current time. Then there's another one that one of my partner manages that's for different types of work, technology, policy, and that type of thing. Question: what's the name of that one? Answer: I think it's Codex. CAUDEX. Question: and are there any other LLCs or types of business entities otherwise associated with Fusion GPS? Answer: those are the only ones I can think of. Question: and have you been a registered agent, owner, or beneficial owner of any other LLCs or business entities? Answer: I own an LLC in Maryland that holds some property that I own. Question: and what's the name of that LLC? Answer: as we sit here, I wasn't prepared for this question. I don't remember the name of it. It was registered fairly recently. Obviously, we can get that to you. Question: so is it correct that Fusion has, at times, worked with different LLCs based on by project? Answer: for most of the history of the company, Bean LLC was the primary entity through which we did business. I'm not sure I totally understand your question. There's this other LLC I mentioned that's fairly recent, and there may be other entities, but nothing that I myself set up, at least not that I can think of. Question: anything that your partners would have set up? Answer: Not that I can think of. Question. Does Fusion GPS, Bean LLC, Kernel LLC, or any of these other related businesses, entities, have any bank accounts outside of the United States? Answer, no. Question. Domestically, does Bean LLC have an account at? Answer, yes. Question. Mr. Levi, I don't know that we need to get into bank accounts. Mr. Davis, are you offering a basis for that objection? Mr. Levi, it's outside the scope of the interview. Mr. Davis, part of the questions we've asked are actions Fusion has taken, interactions Fusion has had, and we're trying to define the scope of what Fusion is as a predicate to understanding those answers. Mr. Levi, yeah, and he's answering those questions. Mr. Foster, he answered yes to the question by Mr. Davis. Question, where is Fusion GPS's physical office, if any? Answer, DuPont Circle. Question, is it, if I recall correctly, 1700 Connecticut Avenue, Northwest? Answer, that's the address. Yes. Question, is it Suite 400? Answer, it is. Question, how many employees and associates does Fusion GPS currently have? Answer, roughly a dozen. Question, who are they? Answer, do you want their names? Question, yes, their names. Answer, Tom is a partner in the business. Jane is a partner in the business. Michael is a partner in the business. Another one of our managers is Susan, and she is a manager consultant. We have several analysts whose names are Dick, Mabel, and Veronica, whose previous position I don't recall. Veronica, whose former position I don't recall. Michael, who previously was with, I think, Conclusion. And there's Tom, who's our administrative person. There may be one or two others whose names I don't recall. Question, is anyone who was an employee or associate of Fusion GPS in 2015 or 2016 no longer with the company? And if so, who? Answer, not that I can think of. Question, in general, what is Fusion GPS's business? Answer, we primarily are research, strategy, consulting firm. Question, and what types of clients has Fusion GPS had? Answer, it runs the gamut from corporations to law firms, various investment funds, people involved in litigation. Question, and roughly how many active clients, Mr. Levi? Did you finish? I don't know if he finished. Mr. Davis, I'm sorry. By the witness. Answer, it's hard to categorize them all. Those are some of the main types of clients we have. Question. And roughly how many active clients did Fusion GPS have in 2016? Answer. That's difficult for me to answer. You know, over 10, I would say, but it's hard for me. Beyond that, I would be guessing. Question. Does part of Fusion GPS's business involve attempting to have media outlets publish articles that further the interest of your clients? Answer. Yeah, you could. I mean, generally speaking, we are generally we tend to respond to inquiries more than try to push things. But, you know, we work with the press frequently. Question. And has Fusion GPS ever provided information to journalists in order to encourage them to publish articles or air stories that further your client's interests? Answer. Yes. Question. And has Fusion GPS provided information to journalists or editors in order to discourage them from publishing or airing stories that are contrary to your client's interests? Answer. Well, what we're a research company. So generally, what we do is provide people with factual information. Our specialty is public record information. So if we get an inquiry about a story and some of the information that a reporter's presuming is incorrect, and we give them correct information, that may cause them not to write the story. Question. Has Fusion GPS ever had arrangements with clients in which the amount of Fusion's compensation was dependent on getting articles published or stories aired? Answer. Not that I can recall. Question. Has Fusion GPS ever had arrangements with clients in which the amount of Fusion's compensation was dependent upon preventing articles from being published or stories from being aired? Answer. No, I don't think so. Not to my recollection. Question. To the best of your knowledge, has anyone associated with Fusion GPS ever told clients or prospective clients that the company could find and distribute information or take other actions in order to encourage government agencies to initiate an investigation? Answer. Could you restate that? Question. To the best of your knowledge, has anyone associated with Fusion GPS ever told clients or prospective clients that the company could find and distribute information or take other actions in order to encourage government agencies to initiate an investigation? Answer. No answer. Mr. Levi, within the scope of this interview, Mr. Davis, in general. I'm not asking about any particular case. Mr. Levi, hold on. Let's Let me just talk to my client about that and get back to you on that. I just want to understand the facts so we can evaluate whether it's appropriate to discuss that here, if such a predicate for the answer exists. Mr. Foster, do you want to take a break? Mr. Levi, sure. Mr. Foster, let's go off the record. It's 9:55. A short break was had. Mr. Davis, we'll go back on the record. It's 10:02. Question. After conferring with your counsel, are you able to answer the question? Answer, yes. Could you just state it one more time? Question, sure. To the best of your knowledge, has anyone associated with Fusion GPS ever told clients or prospective clients that the company could find and distribute information or take other actions in order to encourage government agencies to initiate an investigation? Answer. The word, quote, associated, close quote, is really vague. I'm not sure I know what you mean by that. I can speak to my own practices and the practices of the people who work at my company. Generally speaking, when we do a research project for a new client and they ask us, you know, they explain, you know, what situation they're involved in. If it's a lawsuit, for example, or some other dispute, a lot of what we do is related to disputes. They say, you know, we say we will conduct an open-ended inquiry that's not goal directed, and the results of the research will guide whatever decision you want to make about how to use it. So the range of possibilities with, you know, research are: you could file a lawsuit. You could put it in a court filing. You could take it to a government agency. You could give it to Congress. You could give it to the press. But you don't really prejudge, you know, how you're going to use information until you know what you've got. So generally, don't let our clients dictate sort of the, you know, the end result of things, because we don't think that's an intelligent way of trying to do research. And, you know, a lot of what we do is decision support. Your clients are Your clients are frequently trying to make a decision about how they want to proceed, whether they want to, you know, if someone thinks they've been defrauded, you can file a lawsuit. You can go to the police. You would decide that based on what you find out about the, you know, evidence of fraud. So that's generally the way we do it. Question: to the best of your knowledge, has Fusion GPS ever had an arrangement with a client in which the company was specifically tasked with getting government agencies to initiate an investigation? Answer: I would, to the best of my recollection, we don't have any agreements like that. We would put into writing generally for the reasons I stated in answer to the previous question. In the course of, dealing with a client, we might talk about whether, something was worthy of a government investigation and talk about how that could be done. There's any number of scenarios there that might come under discussion. But as I say, that's generally not how we frame a project. Question: has Fusion GPS ever had arrangements with clients in which the amount of Fusion's compensation was dependent on government agencies initiating an investigation? Answer: we've been in business since 2010, so 7 years is a fairly long time. But as I say, categorical, because we've done a lot of work over the last 7 years. Question: so I'm going to move on now to some questions about Prevezon Holdings and the Magnitsky Act. I want to sort of generally make it clear when I refer to you or to Fusion, I mean, not just you personally, but all employees and associates of Fusion GPS and its component LLCs and legal entities, as well as any contractors or subcontractors. If it's not clear to you who I am referring to in the question, please just ask and I'll clarify. Similarly, I'm going to refer to Prevezon and Magnitsky, Magnitsky. When I refer to those together, I mean all matters related to the Justice Department's lawsuit against Prevezon Holdings Limited, as well as all matters related to efforts with the media, government officials, and campaigns to overturn the Magnitsky Act, prevent the passage of the Global Magnitsky Act, remove the word Magnitsky from either law, the Russian ban on U.S. adoptions of Russian children, research on Mr. Magnitsky himself, or Mr. Browder Hermitage Capital Management and its affiliated companies. So I'm generally putting those under that umbrella. If you need me to clarify for any specific question, just ask. Mr. Levi, you obviously said a lot there, Mr. Davis. I did, Mr. Levi. And so, on a question by question basis, out of fairness to the witness, I just want to make sure that he has the ability to ask clarification, of course, as questions arise. Mr. Davis, right? That's what I would be asking you to do. All right. That was about, my stopwatch started going so slow for some reason, but it was still keeping time. That was about 50 minutes of dictation there for you. If you need to practice this to build up your endurance, please, you can break it into, if it was 50 minutes, you can break it into 25 and 25 to build up your endurance slowly. If you're not familiar with endurance, it can be quite a hefty task. And that's why I'm bringing this to you, to help you with it. So if you are not one of those people that have been writing and you can, have been writing for at least 30 minutes, then you'll probably need to break this into 2 parts. If, however, you have been writing over 30 minutes and you're quite comfortable with the 50-minute time, go ahead, feel free, enjoy yourself, knock yourself out with this. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for coming as well. Please don't forget, the giveaway is next Saturday on the 24th. And I'm going to be doing a live video for that giveaway. Please join me. And I haven't set a time yet, so I will make that public as well. I'll just do a whole video about it before next Saturday, so you'll know exactly what time I'm giving this video away, this item away. Now, if you're not subscribed to the channel, of course, you can't participate. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. And the reason I'm doing it is to thank my viewers who have been loyal to this channel. And even if you're just subscribing, maybe that will make you become a loyal viewer on my channel. So also, I'm still on the run trying to get 400 subscribers. I'm almost there. So please, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe today. Thank you so much. I'm going to end it right there. And I wish you all a great day, afternoon, night, whenever you're watching this video. And as always, happy writing. Bye.